Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tarot by Cecilia on Patreon, members only on Facebook, and also on tarotbycecilia.com. This is your love and finance tarot guidance for the month of June 2021. June is a very big month this year, and I am making this video available on all podcast platforms, including, of course, Podbean and YouTube. It normally is offered as part of a subscription package through the aforementioned places. For those who wish to check things out on a trial basis, you can go to my members only area, accessible by clicking on Use App at the top of my Facebook page, to try your first month for only $1. For those who wish to subscribe for a longer term, go to my website, offers discounted packages at a yearly rate. I do hope wherever you are listening from that this video helps to guide you through these times of immense change and transformation. You'll be kicking off June in the space in between and still feeling the energies of the first one, which was a total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, as the universe barrels toward the second, a solar eclipse in Gemini. As the month begins, you have just stepped into a Mercury retrograde, totally in the air sign of Gemini, which began on May 29th and runs through June 22nd, with the post-shadow period ending on July 7th. Mercury rules Gemini, so expect this retrograde to tick all of the retrograde boxes, especially in terms of intensity. Venus begins its tour of Cancer on June 2nd to stay until June 27th. Hopefully this brings a kinder, gentler, more empathetic vibe to things, rather than the society which lives to tear one another down. Sensitivity is heightened now, and having compassion for one another is paramount. Self-care is necessary, especially when it comes to your mental outlook. This month's new moon features an annular solar eclipse, 19 degrees Gemini, happening on the 10th. Expect those who are Gemini and Sagittarius to be affected the most, as well as those with either of these as a rising sign. On the 11th, Mars will enter Leo, boosting your confidence through July 29th. The 14th brings another square between the two heavy hitters, Saturn and Uranus. There can be some tense moments here, but they are likely due to the dilemma of responsibility versus freedom. People may seem to act a bit irrational and out of character as they try to rebel against the status quo. Jupiter, currently in Pisces, joins Pluto, Saturn, and Mercury in the retrograde column on the 20th, not to go direct until October 18th. Jupiter may not seem as strong to you in the gift department, but if you are on the receiving end, know that there will be some double dipping. The Sun moves one sign closer to home, entering Cancer at the time of the summer-winter solstice. You are in the home stretch of these heavy energies, and it is time to turn your focus once again to your hopes and dreams. As previously mentioned, Mercury stations direct on June 22nd. It does not complete its post-shadow phase until July 7th, but if you give at least 5 days from its station direct, you will notice things attempting to return to normal. A full moon, 9 degrees Capricorn, that's 3 degrees Capricorn, brings to a close the first eclipse season of 2021. With each passing day now, you should be feeling the heavier energies lifting. One more planet moves to the retrograde side of the board as Neptune begins its annual retrograde on the 25th, stationing direct on December 1st. This is an important time to pay attention to your dreams, so that when Neptune returns to direct motion, you will be ready to enact them. This brings the total number of retrograde planets to 5. Venus does time in Leo from June 27th through July 21st. This can be a good place for Venus or not. Ego plays a major role here, and those with oversized egos will be surrounded by drama and show their taking side more, making many relationships feeling one-sided. However, it can also bring greater confidence to those who need it and boost your creativity. The month of June holds a plethora of planetary aspects, which I will not cover here because I cover them in other places throughout the month. Know that they will run the gamut, bringing both highs and lows, and perhaps a surprise or two along the way. Boy, just looking at the cards here, I'm like, gotta get to that Capricorn full moon, right? Just get to the end of eclipse season and it all starts to ease up a little bit. It's amazing the way the cards show things. You know, these can be stressful times, but I'll be honest with you, it's like, I think the stress has been there all along. You know, it just kind of gets you down, and there needs to be some form of recovery, all right? A willingness to tackle it, but, you know, the way I'm seeing it is that not all things are panning out the way you would hope. Well, it is very difficult when you're in this energy that we have for the month of June to really see heads or tails and know which way things are going. Because Mercury is retrograde, I can't even talk, retrograde in its own sign of Gemini, what I'm seeing here is that necessity to double check, to triple check, to, you know, check all the boxes, make sure that everything is done right. There are going to be times when you're going to have to, you know, maybe just go shut the door and do what you have to do, and, you know, leave the outside world out of it, okay? Take your time with things, be methodical, be precise, okay? This is, you know, for what I see here, a time when, like I said, you really can't see how it's all going, but your spirits begin to lift when the season is over with, and that's important to remember. So, you know, you're looking at more like the end of the month, but, you know, it's like, shh, sail into smoother waters, and off you go. And then you go back and you look at everything one more time, all right? Getting it ready. So if you have a special project that you have begun before the Mercury retrograde, you can keep on working on it, but I wouldn't call it complete, and I wouldn't launch it during this time frame. Me personally, everyone knows I am very Mercury challenged, so I will be waiting until Mercury has left shadow on July 7th before I do anything that is considered new. As I said earlier at the beginning before I started the actual reading, there's like highs and lows that are in here. You know, I see the stress, I see the tension, I also see, you know, the possibility of good news, the ability to overcome things, and, you know, there are those, and I think that this is when Venus goes into Leo, because they may want to win at all odds. You know, there's that craving the spotlight. Remember, I mentioned ego-based kind of people. I do believe that the key here is to not do anything crazy, radical, out of the norm for you. You gotta remember, you can only control what you do. You cannot control what anyone else is doing. And, you know, therein lies the craziness of eclipse season, is what will other people be up to. And believe me, they're up to a lot. Boy, oh my goodness. During the Saturn retrograde, there's something going on. I want to say it involves an individual, okay? Being as Mercury is, you know, retrograde here, it doesn't show it as someone from the past, but it could be, okay? And I just want you to, you know, pay attention, because there's a lot of joy around something that's going on. I don't know if it's due to something that's being celebrated, or if it is, you know, something else. But we got a lot of Gemini energy around. And there's this two sides to an individual, okay? And maybe it's typical of this person. They don't have to be a Gemini, and perhaps it's not. But, I would choose to see the loving, nurturing side and know that if there is a bitter side, that the bitterness isn't toward you, okay? That's important to remember. A lot of times, what people can do is when they sense something and they're so afraid it's about them, they just keep asking, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'll be honest with you, it is up to you to know to leave that alone, okay? Not ignoring that someone may seem upset about things, but it's not part of what you need to do. Your job is to be there and provide the happiness and the joy, all right? However that may come. It could be through simple conversation. A lot of times when someone is, having a difficult time, but they're also working on making good times, they just need someone to reinforce the good part, okay? The bitterness stems from something else that has nothing to do with you. So therefore, you need to just focus on what's going on here. Just, talk about goals. Yeah, remember I mentioned in the beginning, I think I mentioned recovery, and that's going to be important. It's going to take place June, July, August, and September. Now, the first month being June, it's not going to be an easy one. Perhaps because you feel as though you're not accomplishing your goals the way that you would like. But believe me, there's a lot more wisdom in knowing when to wait. And, as far as timing goes. Now, somewhere along the way in the beginning, I mentioned the solstice and the ability then to begin to focus on your hopes and dreams. So that tells me that, the eclipses are out of the way. You have a few more days before the full moon in Capricorn, before eclipse season ends. And there's that, you can maybe breathe a little bit again and start to focus back on your hopes and dreams. I like this. I said September, but it could be October. I think October is going to be a really good month because, and I mentioned it in the beginning, with Jupiter going direct October 18th, you've got all of the tools that you need. And at that point in time, you are, you're riding high. You're very much in charge of what you are doing. There's a big, big change in what is coming. Let's just call it transformation. I should put down more cards. I think you've waited a long time, and, a lot has happened. You might have struggled with, biting your tongue a few times. Look at this. My goodness. Yeah, here's the thing. This transformation is people-based, but it doesn't have to be just about people. It can be kind of things starting to come together, where you get that, I guess you want to call it like the perfect storm. But finally, people seeing eye to eye. So whatever I was saying way back here about someone with their bitterness and da-da-da-da-da, right? It changes. But it changes because you don't engage. You don't start trouble and say, well, what's the matter? Why are you like that? Why are you quiet today? Da-da-da. I haven't heard from you. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, just go with the flow. And, in time, all of that becomes different. So this is looking like, let's see, I said Jupiter goes direct October 18th. It says you're getting toward the end of the year. I do feel that this is something that's well worth the wait. Could very well, but see, the thing is, it's starting now, all right? There's this thing in life about timing, all right? Our timing, and it's perfect. You're ready. You are ready for whatever. Make it happen. Let's do it. And, there needs to be some balance here. Just kind of steady as you go, okay? Because your focus is going to be important. I think that is here quite a bit with you remaining even keeled, but you're going to be amazed at what you pull off. Like, if it's good by September, October's like, just sitting there amidst your manifestation. I don't know how else to put it, okay? It's just a really nice thing. So, right now, making choices is, oh goodness, forget it. It isn't even clear, all right? You can have an honest conversation with yourself about what works and what doesn't, but things are not all as they appear. So I know that there's plenty of you out there that get ahead of yourself and you think that you know how it's going to be, how it's going to turn out. And you start, and I feel that this has to do with judging other people's lives. You know what's going to happen. No, you don't, okay? You can't tell by Facebook. You can't tell by what they say. You have no idea, all right? We've had this conversation so many times. Focus on what you know. The only thing you know is about you. You don't know about anybody else and what is going on. So there's a lot of stuff that isn't clear, and it's kind of shrouded right now. So that's what I'm saying. It isn't for you to know, and you have a whole lot to do. But boy, once you do it, I'd say by the end of the month things are improving. Definitely improving. I spoke of that Saturn-Uranus square and that, responsibility versus freedom. You're going to have to do what's right first because Saturn is going to say so. But there's definitely, what I see here is change that's on the horizon. This feels good too. I think you can be very proud of yourself. There's oh boy, a lot of giving, a lot of generosity that's here, right? I don't know what that means. It's more like the goodness, out of the goodness and kindness of your heart kind of thing, all right? But it has probably been where you have given and been hurt. There's always those reminders. Do you move forward? Do you trust? So I think there's a little bit of mistrust here. That could be this month, with whatever's happening. Don't know which person or how this is, affecting you. But I think that you need to make sure that you're solid, okay? That is all you can do, is make sure that you're solid. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve, and don't give so freely. That's a really tough lesson to learn. Says someone who has been down this road many times before. What stories I have. Now, September's figuring very strongly in this, and if I remember correctly, if you have been listening to my readings all along, and the story is kind of segmented, and I believe that it was showing up that way, that from June to September, there's a part of the story where you're doing something, and, right, it is successful. I think it changes, each month. So you're kind of operating on blind faith here, which actually leads to blind luck. I believe there is such a thing, where things start to not just move for you, but move in the right direction and come together as they should. All right. At the end of the year, when we have the other set of eclipses, they will be Taurus and Sagittarius. And once again, Sagittarius will be a total eclipse. That time it'll be a solar one. There's something happening then in December, which it just feels so good. It's like what you have been sending out to the universe is yours. Like you can hold it in your hand. I always get confused with my quotes. I think it might be the one called the Serenity Prayer. You know, give me the strength to whatever, to change the things that I can, and something about the ones that you cannot. And the thing of it is that there are things that, you know, 'cause Saturn can be so restrictive, right? And it's not as restrictive when it's retrograde. So maybe this is where you get a little bit of wiggle room here, because that's what I see usually, trying to find that wiggle room. It's like something isn't working. Something has made you sad, whether it's problems, issues, people, whatever's going on, but it's like time to break free. Time to just leave it all behind. I always have a tendency to call it nonsense. So by the time the full moon arrives, you're leaving a whole lot of whatever behind. Who knows what kind of stories come from this month of June, but something tells me that there are going to be some really big ones. So, you know, if you watch the world stage, pay attention there as well. You know, listen to the stories that other people tell, and you'll marvel at the ways of the universe. You don't have to tell them that, you know, oh my goodness, because they might not get it. But definitely pay attention, because then you're looking forward to the future. And I think we should call that September. Okay? It's all coming. It is coming your way. You're taking your power back. Whatever has happened, see, where I see that feeling of powerlessness, it just, right? There's things that you just can't seem to fix. Why can't I make this work? And sometimes you just have to accept that you cannot make it work, all right? And you move on. With eclipse season and with Mercury retrograde, relationships are always up for review. And this is a big deal when they come together like this. But, you know, in this particular instance, it's important to remember that not all relationships are loved ones, and that there can be many types of changes, both endings and beginnings, as you sort through all of this. But I'm telling you, there's success. Get to that full moon. That feels important to me. Just get to like where you can say, I reached the finish line. Eclipse season is over. Don't let your guard down. Don't let your guard down. You've got 3 months coming up. So I'm going to call it June, which is what you're in. And then July, August, and September. And what I have here looks absolutely beautiful to me. All right. There is a sense of freedom that's here. Freedom from what you feel has held you back. And in some cases, it's you that has been the problem. All right. Not other people, but overcoming things that people do. Sometimes you self-sabotage and you don't realize it. But when you do recognize your own traits, whether you want to call them faults or bad habits that constantly screw you up, send you back to the beginning, and time to start over. Some of these things that are going on here are going to have to do with Saturn, all right, and what it means to you while it is in Aquarius. You know, that's very interesting. And of course, it's there for a period of about 2.5 years. So you've got a ways to go with that. But I see you, let's see, Jupiter. Jupiter is currently, I love my cards, oh my God. Jupiter is currently in Pisces, all right? And it will be again at the end of the year. Just pay attention, because it's almost like there's a snippet that's here, all right? You get a preview. And think about that for a minute. You get a preview of what is to come in 2022. And that's the Jupiter part. All right, so Jupiter will be in Pisces through, I want to say July 28th. All right, and then go back December. I know it goes back in December 28th, but I'm not sure about the July 28th date. But when I look at this, with each phase of the moon, there is more passion, more drive, more creativity. Things are happening, all right? It represents change, new beginnings, and success for you. I really want to say that the solstice, when it comes this month, you know, it's almost like leaves you hanging right there, because this reading is actually supposed to be for this month, even though we've talked further on out. There's just something happening here, and it just, as the planets move and things change, you're going to notice full moon, new moon, different transits. Things are changing for you. So it's very rarely, you know, that we see drastic change overnight, although it's possible, and we all know that. But there is something that's happening here, and I think that where you're at the beginning of June and where you are at the end of June can feel like two different places, but the end of June is more like a beginning, and where you go from here, okay? But first you have to get through the, whatever all this is, the doubts, the feeling of, you know, like that you just can't do something, and recognize that you can, and then you're on your way. So it comes together, and the story is going to be different for everybody, how it comes together too. So I really feel like it comes through creativity. There's a lot of creativity that's here, and it's like maybe the idea comes to you, the light bulb goes off, this is what I'm going to do, but it might not go off until the end of the month or so. There's too much, way back where I was talking before, there is too much fog right now, and you have to let the fog move, and you get a glimpse, and the fog may go back over. Yeah, trust me. I'm telling you, there's something to this time frame, what's happening here and now, and then what comes in at the end of the year. And what comes in at the end of the year is meant to be something that builds to be more permanent for the long term. So see if you can figure out what it is. I want to thank you all very much for being here, and I'll see you again real soon. Take care.